Well, speaking of creative stuff, and anybody that watches the show or knows me or anything about me, I'm like a superhero geek besides the music stuff. And specifically, I've got, I showed you a couple of them. I've literally got Jokers all over my studio down here. And, when I've heard that they were doing, the whole concept, when I heard they were doing a Joker, so I mean, I was like, jumping, cartwheels when I heard about it, but it just like, conceptually, I was like, this is so cool, but so weird, especially for like a mainstream movie. It's just like, it was like, they're really going to do this, huh? So, and then of course, it was such a huge movie, so successful, and a huge part to what you did with that now. So, with the Joker, how much did, like, in terms of like the look and, and obviously specifically Joaquin Phoenix's look, how did that come to be? Did you collaborate with someone on that, or was that you,
Yeah.
or how that? So you get it, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, the way I like to work, and I feel that's the best way of doing things, is always to collaborate. And it's not only like me and the hair department, but it's also with costumes, it's with the actor, it's with the director.
Yeah.
It is so important that, everybody's on the same page. And so it's funny because but I get to that later. So when we started off, the poor director, he was like, I was already hired by the producer. So, I was already the kind of must hire. It was because Martin Scorsese's producer who was also the executive producer on that, on Joker. We had just finished The Irishman. And
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So, like when we were still on Irishman, she said, yo, you want to come and do my next project? I'm like, sure, whatever. I mean, I love her. I'll do anything with her. And
yeah.
I had no idea what it was. And then, a couple of months later, she told me, oh, it's the Joker. And I'm like, what? Oh my God. I was scared. I was shitless. I'm like, oh my God, how? And I'm thinking, of course, okay, Joker, prosthetics and smile and this and that.
Yeah.
And it turns out, no, it's not that kind of a Joker. It's that complete reality. This is like, it's not super villain in a superhero world. It's like, it's reality. And
right.
That's what made it so much more interesting to me, because, you can really create something without all the gimmicks and the effects and the prosthetics. And that to me is really interesting.
Yeah.
And so when I had my first creative meeting with the director, with Todd, he already had a bit of a concept of what he wanted it to look like, because he wrote the script. Clearly he had a very, very clear vision of what he wanted and what it should be.
Yeah.
And so what we then did, he gave me like a photoshopped photo of Joaquin to say like, okay, this is kind of the direction we want to go. And I'm like, okay, that sounds really cool. But when you have mock-ups, it doesn't really necessarily mean this is what we can do, because
sure.
It's different when it's actually on a person. And
right.
What I loved about the concept is that the clown makeup it's a very traditional clown makeup.
Yeah.
Like the Italian opera clown. And because that's what they would have done. They wouldn't have come up with something like super crazy and unique. But
right.
Arthur Fleck is like, he's a guy. He's a wounded guy that does it as a job, and it's not. It should never be perfect, because he's not a painter or anything. He's
right.
doing it to make some money, and so that was really interesting. So the tough part about Joker was really like the progression of it and to keep it real.
Yeah.
And so what we did then before we started shooting is Joaquin's process was very, very difficult, I think, for him, because, he lost a lot of weight.
Right.
To play that part, I mean, I don't know how the F he did it, to put his mindset in that character. I mean, it's just wild, right? So we had to make sure that he's really comfortable with what we're doing. So we did a bunch of trial runs and how we gonna use the colors, the blues. I wanted the blues to be certain blues. I didn't want them to be conventional primary colors.
Right, of course.
I needed to feel like nostalgic, and the placement and the progression or the degression, what do you call it? How the makeup gets messed up later on.
Right.
That was really, really important to play, to keep it realistic. And so to create the look was not that hard, but to kind of keep the continuity going, that was really the difficult thing, because like I said before, you don't really shoot scene 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right.
You shoot him like in a cleaner look, and then you change to the next scene, and it's something that we had shot already 5 weeks before, but we have to pick up exactly where we left off, so I had to match it exactly. So when you see the movie and everything is cut together, you can't see that we shot that all in different times, so the transition had to be perfect and flawless, and that was really the tricky part, because if you mess that up, then it takes you out of the movie. You notice it and you're like, oh, what's that?
Right.
That just happened. He kind of looked different before,
Yeah.
But to me, that was a great challenge, and I love challenges. And that was really like, it was a collaboration too, like figuring out how much do we want him to get smeared, and how far can we take it, and it also depended on how he's going to play it, and because his acting was very difficult for him, I had to be very sensitive around him, not to get him out of character.
Right.
So I never really had enough time to get it really right, but in a way that was a kind of a good thing, because it should never be right. So if I can do it perfect, that's a good thing, as long as
because theoretically it's supposed to be himself putting it on. Right. Yeah,
exactly. The funny thing about that is that when we started doing the camera test, and Todd released the camera test pretty early on, before we even started shooting, because he knew that when paparazzi comes around, they're going to put it all out and people get the wrong idea. So he wanted to be the first one to get
That's
it
the
out.
one that he did on Instagram, like right before that one. Yeah.
Yes, and it was really funny, like the reactions of the people, because everybody expected, including me, when I heard I'm going to do Joker. Right. Wait a minute, where are the scars? What the kind of like what the fuck is that? That looks like a 5-year-old did it. That's not Joker. And I was laughing so hard. I'm like, oh my God, these reactions is exactly what you want, Because that's what it's supposed to be. And then when people actually watch the film, they finally, oh, okay, I get it.
Well, now it's become so freaking iconic. I mean, especially the shot on the steps, that's like everywhere, so it's amazing. Yeah. And how that you saw his evolution. Also the scene that your makeup that I just like, one of my favorite scenes in the movie is, the scene when, at the apartment right before he goes to, with the blood splattered all over his face with the white makeup on, that shot was amazing.
That was great, but it also like this especially in this film, there was a lot of spontaneity and creativeness day by day, because the script was written, but then while we were shooting it, we realized, oh, wait a minute, maybe we should change things a little bit.
Yeah,
that scene in the original script, it read, before those guys showed up to his apartment, that he had already the Joker makeup on.
Yeah.
And then Joaquin was like, we were playing in the makeup test, and he had, we just put the white makeup on, and Joaquin was like, that is kind of a cool look, just like that. Why don't we play it just like that? And everybody's like, yeah, what a cool idea, because then when he kills the guy in the blood will read a lot better that way.
Right.
So sometimes these things happen that were really spontaneous, and that was really fun too. And again, it made it so organic in a way that it was just, that's why it was so cool and right, because things happened like organically that way. And then there was this other thing where he dyes his hair green, and and we had that little, not a problem, but because of the location and the lighting, you couldn't really see that his hair, which was the green hair, was a wig. Yeah. And the green of the wig didn't really pick up in the light in the bathroom. Yeah. So we were like, oh man, how can we fix it? And then Kay and I were like, oh, I have an idea. Why don't we just put green paint in a bottle and you just squirt it on, and when shit runs down, everybody knows it's green. And
oh wow! So I thought it was just traditional manic panic. You know what I mean? You know, manic panic is. You know.
We just made that up as we went, because like to make it like, oh yeah, now he's dyeing his hair green. And if he would have done that, he would have never seen. He of course. He wasn't really supposed to dye his hair, but because we couldn't read the green, we decided, let's just have him dye it, and so people know it's green. Yeah. And then that became pretty iconic too, where he's like,
oh totally, that's a great
everything's dripping around. It was so cool too, and again, it was totally spontaneous, and that's part of the cool collaboration. When you can collaborate with people, beautiful things happen, you know. And every film is a collaboration, or should be, just like music. When you have your musicians together and you play and it clicks, it's like and you listen to each other and you respect each other and like want to work together, that's when shit happens, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's all one, and that's why I was so excited about having you on the show is, obviously the majority of my guests are musicians on here, but when I got into music, like one of the first, I mean, I remember being like, a little kid and like half awake, half asleep, too late up at night than I should have been, and seeing Ashes to Ashes by Bowie on TV. And so when that video, you know how that video is, and it's speaking of Joker, and so maybe that's where my Joker obsession comes from that video, now that I think about it. But so while I was getting into music, the music and the visual were happening simultaneously. It wasn't like here's music and here's visual. It was like all one thing. And so that's kind of how I think of all art. It's all one. It doesn't matter. It is all one thing, and we all create in, maybe it's different mediums, but it's all the same kind of process generally.
Yeah, totally. And with Joker especially, the movie itself was beautiful, but what made another huge part of the movie, besides the makeup and the acting, was the music.
Oh, gosh.
Joker's score was just incredible. Like just that moment where he's in the bathroom and he's do that amazing piece of score.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I'm goosebumps.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Yep.
Amazing. And that's why that film too, music is such an important part. Again, it's collaboration. What could be great on its own, but to put it together and it's a masterpiece.
Yeah, well, and even like collaborate, what you did with obviously with the wardrobe department, what you were talking about the step scene before, like the colors of his, those deep burgundies and kind of vintage, almost faded burgundies that they used to go along with your makeup. I mean, it was just, they worked so together.
Yeah, it's also production design. If you have the clothing and the makeup, then you put them in like a surrounding. It all has to kind of like work together, and I loved it. That was really like one of the movies where the collaboration between production design, costume design, hair, makeup, acting, directing, lighting, it was just like, it was really difficult and like a lot of big egos and a lot of clashes here and there, I won't deny it, but the end result and the passion and the respect we all had for each other really that's what created such a beautiful piece. And it showed, and that's what I'm most proud of, that people can actually come together and create something together without being like jealous and like sabotage, and horrible when that happens, but then things go well and it goes really well, and that's an incredible feeling to be part of something like that.
Oh, I can't imagine. Well, the thing that's so great about that movie, obviously the timelessness of it, but it's the rewatchability of it too. It's I've seen it many, many times now, and it's not tedious, or it's not like I'm just going to fast forward through this part. The second I watch, you just put it on, also I'm like, okay, I'm here for the next 2 hours now. I didn't even mean to be, but now here I am for the next 2 hours.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's also Joaquin. he's so mesmerizing, and that was another thing when we were working on it. The entire crew, whenever he was like doing his thing, everybody was just mesmerized.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
A lot of his old stunts and then his physicality, and it was just amazing.
Yeah. Well, and it was such I don't know whose choice it was ultimately for him to lose all that weight. I'm sure it was a hard thing physically to go through, but that was so unique, especially to the Joker. You see him even that you were making it reality based, the comics, he's always real gangly, and like no one's ever really, as much as I love Heath Ledger's performance, like everybody does, but he was still built almost like Batman. He was still kind of a, muscular type guy, where and where that's what I with even like the skinny ankles and everything, everything is so exaggerated.
That was pretty cool. Yeah, he lost a lot. I think he lost like 60 pounds for that.
Crazy.
And all he ate was like an apple and a little bit of salad, and that was that. He was angry too. I can't imagine what.
Oh gosh.
Your mind and everything. It was wild.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's we'll kind of start getting close to wrapping up here. Couple quick things. So I wanted to, I always ask musicians, it's obviously has to do with, where does everybody think live music's going to be as we go forward? This question has evolved a lot, obviously, over the last 6 to 8 months. Shows are starting to happen, especially outdoor shows and stuff like that. But I always end up kind of rounding back to when we're talking, even with other musicians, about the movie business and how. I think a lot of this stuff, especially with streaming, was going to happen, obviously, and it was already starting to happen before the pandemic, but this put it on steroids, obviously, everybody being stuck at home. But where do you, your own gut feeling and talking to people in the industry, excuse me, in terms of like, the theater side of things. That's what kind of I equate that. That's kind of similar to, I guess you could say, the live music kind of thing. I mean, with movie theaters in general, I mean, do you think those are going to be more niche, like almost like going out and buying a vinyl record now, or and everybody's going to be, I mean, what's your general, feeling on that?
Well, I mean, it's really hard to say. I think people really want to be out and experience art, whether it's music or a film. They want to experience it together.
Yeah.
And it's because that it's a whole different feeling and a whole different excitement when you see something or hear something or experience something, even with strangers, than just sitting on your couch in front of a TV. It's different.
Yeah.
So I don't think that will ever go away.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's ever gonna die. And sure, you could have parties with a projector and in your friends over, but again, that's also a little bit like you're doing it together with people.
Right.
But in a big movie theater with amazing sound and the great visuals, I mean, that's an experience that you cannot fake at home.
Right.
So I think once things calm down a little bit, I think it will be okay again. I really think so. I mean, yes, people will stream more, and yes, people will watch things more, and in that sense, things will change. But big movie theaters, I don't think will ever go away, because there's always somebody that wants to go and experience with strangers, to get just out of your reality, to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Just be, distracted and enjoy and just like lose yourself in something different than, your reality at that moment. So I'm not worried. I think we will always have it. Like, I also think we'll always have live music for the exact same reason. So I'm not really that worried about it. I mean, it will take some time to kind of get back into the groove.
Yeah.
If it's not COVID, it will be something else. But now we kind of experience what it could be like, and we hopefully learn from it.
Right.
Kind of make it better when shit happens again. But yeah, I'm sure that it'll go back to where things were. Maybe a little different, but there's always room for improvement too.
Right. Of course. Yeah. Especially with the movie theater experience. I know certain movie theaters are like, trying to up the experience actually while you're there too, as well, which, certain movie theaters probably could use a little bit of, shifting on that too, as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and streaming probably for you, I mean, because streaming is just so insane now. I mean, obviously that's been more opportunity for you, because there's so many more mediums now out there too. Things being shot all the time, I would assume, Yeah.
Sure, and it's convenient for certain things, but do I want to be stuck in my apartment all day and watch everything from my couch? No, I don't think so.
Right.
Like when the kids sit all now at home in front of their computers and playing games, you want to get them out. Yeah, it's fun, and it's okay to play sometimes, but get them out, have them do it somewhere else, and be with people, be in the world.
Yeah.
It's so important.
For sure. So let's end with this. So, is there anything that, I know certain things you probably can and can't say in terms of what you got in the future, but is there anything like you got on the horizon that that you can tell us about? Like Joker 2.
Can't say. My lips are sealed.
All right. But if you can't say anything about that, I understand. But I mean, is there any other little projects you can tell us about that you have in the works yet?
Besides the one I can talk about, we're going to be doing the Gilded Age for a little while, and that'll be fun. But I think everybody on your show will be very happy to see what's going to happen in the not so far future.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a good way to end things for sure too, as well. And I'm so excited that you're a bass player too. That's so cool. Yeah, that's great. And then do you still, like you said, you do still play like bass, piano too as well, like kind of bounce back and forth between the two a little bit here and there?
I mean, I do for fun, but I suck at it. But it's fun to do it, even if it sucks.
Well, you should see me do makeup. So although I've gotten pretty good with the eyeliner thing over the years. So
you do makeup and I'll play bass and we'll do it to each other. Okay?
There we go. That'll work too as well. And it's so cool. Sid. I mean, how did you that's kind of how we actually connected. So I'm assuming from just I know Sid does some writing on movies, obviously, and just from being in New York, I'm sure that's how you guys know each other.
Actually, I know Sid through his wife.
Oh, right. And she's a filmmaker too, right?
Yeah, she's an actress, and I worked with her many years ago, and she told me that her husband is a musician. I'm like, well, I gotta know him. I know all the musicians in New York, and it's a small world.
That's amazing. That's so cool. Awesome. Well, Nicki, I'm so it's so exciting to watch your career from afar, and it's exciting to it's for someone that's not in that to see how the everything's made and done, and you know, it's just you've left your imprint on the art world forever, and it's really exciting to. I can't thank you enough for being on the show, and you know, I'm going to be geeking on this one for a while, so I really appreciate it. I'm sure all our viewers appreciate it too. Yes, definitely. Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, you take care. Tell your, you know, you and your family stay safe, and maybe next time we'll see each other in a theater somewhere up in New York or something.
Sounds fantastic.
All right. Peace out. Bye-bye.